And so next, we will have our Managing Director, Dr. Ginger Ding, to continue another panel discussion. Please, Ginger.
Thank you, Aiko, for the introduction. Yeah, so yeah, this is Ginger. The Manager Director at MSQ Venture. It's my great privilege to host this panel, with such amazing group of speakers. So in recent years, we see a surge of China cross-border collaborations. For example, in 2020, right, it reached a record high with more than 100 deals closed, both in and out. Moving into 2021, the speed has not been slowed down at all. Taking Zai Lab as an example, for 21, Zai Lab already closed 6 deals, which is quite phenomenal. So yeah, in the previous panel, we had a very exciting discussion around China out-licensing. In this one, we will jump in from different angle, that is what in-licensing opportunity Chinese companies are looking for, and how this is relevant to China's medical needs. What is the dynamic and evolution in the past, and what we expect for the years to come. So yeah, so before we dive into today's topic, let's have a big round of introduction. I will go the sequence on my screen. I will start with Frank Yan, please.
Thank you, Ginger, for the introduction of this panel. I'll be brief. My name is Frank Yan. I'm a partner at 3E Bio Ventures. After my education in the US, I went on to Novartis, then Roche, and GSK for about 15 years before I joined the biotech and the venture world in 3E. Just very brief on 3E. We are a typical venture capital firm that we invest in both therapeutics as well as tech. I mean, on the therapeutics, we actually mostly invest in first-in-class therapeutics. We actually invest quite extensively in both US and China. On the medtech side, we really focus on cross-sector innovation, really disruptive technology. Actually, that's the only thing we're looking at. And just one more thing about the 3E Bio Ventures, we also have an operation arm that we do incubate from scratch sometimes. Innovative science from academia to really get those companies off the ground. We also do extensive collaboration and joint venture type of incubation with the company that we invest in the US. So I'm actually sort of responsible for that part, for 3E Bio Ventures. Okay, that'll be all from my side. Thank you.
Thank you, Frank. Next, let's go to Bao Jun.
Hi everyone. My name is Jun Bao, and I'm CEO of Impact Therapeutics. I was trained as a neurobiochemist. After science education and postdoc fellowship, I actually went back to school again. Got my MBA from University of Chicago, and from there I would start my industry career, and majority in the US biotech company, 3 biotech companies, all in a business development function. They're all an oncology company. I came back to China in 2011, become a head of BD for GSK, heading their business development activity in China. Left the GSK, become head of BD for a China-based biotech company in Beijing called Shanogen. And I was there until 2018. I was recruited by Earlystage Venture, who is our largest shareholder, become the CEO of Impact Therapeutics. Couple words about Impact Therapeutics. We're a target anti-cancer therapy company. We believe we're probably the top company on the using synthetic lethality. Right now we have 3 compounds in clinic. Third compound will be clinic this year, and we probably assemble the best of synthetic lethality pipeline globally, and all of our program are homegrown. So the idea is to really make our company like a US biotech, global biotech, and taking product globally.
Thank you, Jun. Next, let's go to Jack.
Yeah, good morning and good evening, everyone. Thank you, Ginger, for the invite. I'm very honored to be here with the other distinguished speakers here to discuss the topic. So briefly introduce myself. My name is Jack Wu. I'm responsible for the BD search evaluations at Antigen. So before that, I spent roughly around 10 years in the industry and working at several biotech companies with various of BD roles. So I'm a biologist by training and did my PhD at North Carolina State University. So again, very delighted to join the panel here. Also a brief introduction about Antigen. We are a Hong Kong stock exchange publicly listed biopharmaceutical company with very strong focus on the hematology and oncology field. So we have so far built 13 innovative asset pipeline through internal innovations and also external partnerships. 5 of these assets, we have regional rights for APAC, and 8 of these, we have global rights. So our current partners, including Bristol Myers Squibb, Biopharm, AstraZeneca, and Calicera. So our most advanced program called selinexor or XPOVIO, so it has been approved here in the US, both for relapse refractory multiple myeloma and relapse refractory DLBCL by our partner, Biopharm. And we have filed 6 NDAs across our region in APAC. Among these, we recently received the NDA approval in South Korea, and we'll expect the other approvals later this year and beginning next year. So we're very excited to have the opportunities to kind of bring in the innovative therapies to the patients in China and APAC. I'll stop there. Thank you, Ginger.
Thank you, Jack. Yeah, looks like all the speakers we have today, their company all have a global vision. So that's really, that's really happy to see that. So today, actually, I really want to open the discussion around the new regulatory policy.
Hey, Ginger, I haven't got a chance to
sorry,
introduce
Adam.
myself
Yeah.
yet.
Okay, sorry, Adam. Yeah, please.
That's fine. My name is Adam Zhao. I'm the chairman and the CEO for Anlong Bio. And Anlong Bio is a gene therapy company based in Beijing, China. And I myself I have a PhD from UPMC in molecular biology and MBA from Chicago, alumni of Zhao. And after that, I worked for Pfizer for several years before I came back to China, 2003. So I had a company in China right after I came back from Pfizer. And that was a distribution company for US product and technology in China. Had it for 6 years before I sold the company, become a venture capitalist. So during the last 10 years, we invest into Innovent, 3 IMAP, and lots of famous company in China. And last year I started this Unlong Bio focus exclusively in gene therapy market in China. So Unlong Bio have couple of products developed themselves in gene therapy area, focus on ophthalmology and hemophilia. But we are looking for licensing the AAV product focus on rare disease from US. So one of the purpose I want to attend this meeting is talk about the rare disease policy in China, and also looking for partners from US or all around the world for rare disease using AAV as a vector or vehicle for the gene therapy area.
Thank you, Adam. Yeah, actually, quite a lot of the real biotech company in the United States, they are developing orphan drug, but they always wonder it because they think, in China, probably Chinese company probably is not ready for orphan drug collaboration. But now that you mentioned this, I think that's really good news to to our audience who might be in this field.
Yeah, that's why we are here. We are try to tell people this is the right time to get their orphan drug into Chinese market.
Great, thank you, Adam. So today I just mentioned we want to talk a little bit about the new regulatory policy in oncology drug clinical trial in China. So let me fill in some background, right? So it was back in July this year, CDE released a draft guidance for oncology drug trial, stressing that all cancer drug R&D effort should focus on creating real clinical benefit, right? So one requirement was that for late stage trial should use best standard of care as control. So so as a result, actually the new policy caused quite a bit panic at home and abroad, because the interpretation could be it will be more costly to run a trial and also more difficult to get approval. So, but on the other hand, the supporters believe the new policy will do good in long run, by directing resources to true innovation, help lifting China out of the fierce Me-Too competition, PD-1 checkpoint inhibitor, for instance. So in this regard, I'd like to hear from our speakers, right? So how do you vision this new policy would impact the domestic oncology drug development, and how it might change the in-licensing sentiment? Will this encourage Chinese company searching for a more collaboration with Western biotech, and will this stimulate early stage co-development? So because Bao Jun, because you are expert in oncology, I'd like to start with you on this question.
Well, since we're not doing any in-licensing at this moment from outside China, but I threw in my perspective. I think it's good for company doing truly innovation, because that would actually set up a barrier for company, so they have to compete for better product. So from our standpoint, we think we'll probably go earlier, but that's probably not related to what they ask, because if you go earlier, there's probably even less uncertainty. Your product will be will fit what the Chinese regulatory is asking. So I think what happens, this is my prediction, the clinical development plan will become essential when company approach license opportunities into China. So having a discussion probably with a regulatory agency before they do a deal, probably will become a part of practice.
Yeah, that's good to know. Frank, I know you have quite a few portfolio company in oncology sector. Do you want to add something?
Yeah, thanks, Ginger. Yeah, I want to add, I think this is actually really good for, my view is really good for the Chinese biotech industry in the long run, especially just for this case, it's in the oncology field. It raises the bar to a level that we cannot really do a lot of me toos, or the latecomers, they right now they can still get in, right, to point to so-called validated target, and that's where a lot of resources, including capital resources and clinical resources are spent on things that are I don't know, 10 drugs or 5 drugs ahead of you. People can still do that right now, but I don't think with this policy in oncology, no company or able to afford to do that. So that's good. That actually raised the bar for true innovation. That translates into, if we are talking about in-licensing, still talking about in-licensing, the Chinese company will have to go for true innovative, product, especially at the late stage, which can and should beat the best of care. By the way, the best of care is coming to China very rapidly compared to a few years ago. So the bar is really kind of an international standard very soon for the entire almost for oncology kind of field. So I think that actually will help really bring our biotech, particularly in oncology innovation, to the level of international standard. That's actually good. I welcome this actually, from my side.
Yeah. Yeah. So Adam, I know because you have quite a bit activity in diagnosis field as well, right? So how do you see, this policy will impact, for example, the development of a companion diagnosis or precision oncology medicine? Adam?
Hello?
Yeah.
Are you referring to me?
Yes.
Oh, sorry. So yeah, we actually are not focused on the oncology area, but I do have a diagnostic company in China for these before the Along Bio. But I think they do see a lot of pickup from the collaboration between the diagnostic company to the after this policy. I think because the company oncology area drug development, they are looking for innovation, and so they try to build the entry barrier by collaborating with the diagnostic company. I think that's a good sign for company in China to not only for the collaboration, but also try to do some innovative innovative work by collaborating with the diagnostic company. The business does pick up.
Yeah, so yeah, actually follow up on this question, right? I'm wondering, in addition, to the very crowded area, for example, PD-1, Claudio, 18.2 CAR-T, do you guys think any other directions you think, Chinese company should really pay attention to in the oncology space? It could be specific targets or indication or technology. Jack, I will start with you.
Sure. Thank you, Ginger. I think to me, this question can be dissected in multiple dimensions. I think first is really looking at the corporate strategy, really align your internal corporate strategy along and looking at your company's expertise and align those with your external opportunity searching process. Really understand what you're good at and what the areas you wanted to focusing on. I mean, even within oncology, there are so many directions that you focus on liquid tumor, solid tumor, or whether you even within the liquid tumor or solid tumor, there are multiple indications, right? So the and different target, different modalities. I see there are multiple axes you can go into, but the strategy is probably go into the first consideration. For instance, like antigen, we're really taking combinatory and complementary approach when we're looking for assets. Combinatory is really looking for assets that potentially can be combined with our existing pipelines. We're likely to have certain assets right now covering different MOAs. So that does allow quite a bit of rooms for us to looking for assets that potentially synergize with our pipeline assets. The second, the complementary approach is really leveraging the team's expertise and experiences. For instance, half of our management team came from Celgene. So they do carry that strong expertise in the multiple myeloma, DLBCL area. And that's one of the reasons why initially the team in-licensed the selinexor into the pipeline. So I think that certainly helped quite a bit during the process. Then there will be a lot of targets and MOAs. I'll leave other panels to come first.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so Paul, I think I really want to hear your opinion. I know you're a big fan of PARP inhibitor, right? So maybe you can give us some status on the PARP inhibitor landscape in China, and what would be the opportunity, and then expanding from that, you can also, share us what additional, directions you think, is good for Western biotech company looking for a licensing opportunity in oncology sector.
Sure. Well, just quickly on the PARP, I don't want to kind of blow on my own horn. Well, the PARP is a first agent, right, to be approved or validated in a new mechanism we would call synthetic lethality, which means it is not directly inhibit the cancer target. Actually is inhibit synthetic lethality partners, meaning BRCA mutation or HRD deficiency tumor sensitive to PARP inhibitor. So this is the first one of those kind to be approved. So that actually lead the way into a new frontier. So there will be other synthetic lethality agent follow the suit of PARP. But for whatever reason, PARP has probably the wide therapeutic window, and that because of that it become a good agent, sort of like a PD-1, but it's not as big as a PD-1, to be able to combine with many different agents. So you're gonna see now PARP will combine to chemo, target therapy. So in China, we're one of the first 5 most advanced PARP program. So I think at some level, the new rule from CDE helped us, 5 of us. So that's AstraZeneca, Zai Lab, and Beijing, Henry, and us. So because the new rule, the newcomers will be very hard to run a study with a placebo control. They would have to take one of us as a comparators to do a head-to-head comparisons. So I think we're actually in a better off situation compared to PD-1. So they're not going to be 20 PARP inhibitors. There are going to be 5, probably add one more, 6. That'll be it. So that's good. That's good for people doing PARP early on. And I think that gives us a good lessons. If you want to do fast follow on, even in China, you want to be top 5. If you go beyond 5, then you're really, you're really going to have a hard time to be successful, or even to be able to make to the end. So So I think that's a good setup for multinationals to come in to look at opportunities, because now you have a limited number of suppliers, and actually that's good for deals, because if you have a limited supply or they're very good quality, they all show some differentiations, and that actually provide a lot of a supply to multinationals to come to China to find opportunities. I think you'll find the more target therapies deals, like now you see those deals in the PD-1.
Thank you, Jun. So actually, I want to hear, hear your opinion, Frank, from a perspective of venture capitalist.
Yeah, thanks, Ginger. On this, I want to be more just very specific on the direction. The question is really any kind of directions the companies or the Chinese companies should pay attention. I think the area I'm seeing really in oncology, the new area is brain metastasis. The reason is, I outline my reason, is that the systemic treatment of the original cancers right now is actually getting better and better in a variety of different cancers, breast cancer, lung cancer, all kinds of things. Target therapy are very good, and the patient do live much longer than before. And then brain metastasis, of course, is in a condition that usually come later. Right now, we are seeing, really in the clinic, actually a lot more brain metastasis. It was not a really truly sort of unmet, well, it was unmet medical need, but just not without many patients. Right now, there are a lot more. Okay, so it becomes a significant unmet medical need for late stage cancer patients, and that's an area I think we should really pay more attention to. I can give you one example. Tucatinib. Tucatinib is really in a HER2, basically in a HER2 kinase inhibitor, right? In a HER2 field, everybody knows is so crowded in a way that it's going to be very, very difficult for any newcomer to come in with the differentiation. But Tucatinib really did it. I think it was approved a few years ago, not very long time ago. Really, they really went after brain metastasis in their phase 2, and then in their registration trial, they actually enrolled more than half of the HER2 positive brain met patient in that study, and really did show superior efficacy in that patient population. That's how they got approved for a sort of an old kinase inhibitor, but they did find a new area that is really sort of rejuvenate that target class. That's sort of the example I want to give. Just one example, but that's in HER2 positive breast cancer. In lung cancer, of course, we have some compound that can do the work, but still, brain metastasis, for late stage metastatic cancer, I think it's an area I think we should really pay more attention in the oncology field.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I totally agree, because for brain metastasis, for a lot of clinical trials, actually, this category for patients are excluded, right? Because it's really, really hard to treat. We definitely need someone, who are brave enough to tackle this challenge. Next one, because we are our summit is about cross border, right? So next topic I want to touch on is that because in oncology space, we see more and more collaboration on preclinical assets. So a lot of Western biotech, they're wondering, would it be more and more Chinese company, in addition to the big names, interested in early stage assets? So should they wait, for example, have preliminary efficacy data ready, or should they start the partnering conversation early on? So my question to our speakers are, what type of asset Chinese company want to in-license when it's still in early stage? I will turn this question to Jack first.
Thank you, Ginger, for the question. I think it's an interesting question that we often ask ourselves, how early the stage of the assets we needed looking into. But I think it really depends on case by case. I would say if it's a new MOA opportunity, we definitely be interested even looking into early the proof of concept, the target, or some in vitro, in vivo MOAs, etc. Some of the programs we're looking into that's even very early stage is only a hit molecule generated to an interesting pathway that we are looking at. I think the reason behind that is really, if you look at the landscape of the oncology drug development, just taking last year as an example, there are 17 oncology new drugs being approved by FDA. Among these 17, I would say half of those are approved based on a phase 2 trial study. Then many of these, actually several of these are approved based on a phase 1/phase 2 trial. So you can see the speed of the developments is really picking up, and a really I think is a drive for everyone starts to looking into the early stage assets where the true innovation is. The caveat is for some of the best-in-class opportunities, that will be a little bit challenging when you just looking at the preclinical data. So that will be a little challenging to understand whether that is a truly best-in-class or that's a similar or similar opportunity.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I totally agree. Yeah, I think for quite a bit of biotech companies, they always put the very attractive terms first in class to describe their asset. But if it's a true first class or best in class, that definitely require a lot of due diligence and evaluation. Yeah. So Frank, can you also contribute to this question?
Yeah, thanks. I think it's really a balance, right? Late stage and preclinical. If I were to run a biotech, that I would definitely be interested in looking into, and if I were to do licensing in, I would definitely be interested in looking into early even preclinical stage assets. With potential to be first in class, of course, and especially for small biotech, it will be very difficult to really actually to compete in the best in class situation. As I think Jack mentioned, usually those things will be demonstrated in late stage clinical study rather than early on. You cannot really say my compound is the best in class in early stage. And that developing a drug at the later stage, it's not that really, it's not easy. It's certainly not easy for small biotech, and usually in my view, it's really that's for big pharma thing to do. And as a small biotech, I would really take it as an approach that looking into something very, very innovative, take the risk, well, usually cheaper risk, and go after that and demonstrate the clinical benefit. Well, in the proof of concept or slightly later phase 2 stage of study, and then look for a powerful a partner that can pull off a larger scale study at the later stage. That will be my approach. So to answer the question I would definitely be looking into preclinical stage assets. If I were to do a licensing from overseas.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So Adam, so when you are looking for collaboration opportunities in orphan drug, do you have a preference in terms of development stage? You think you might also consider, preclinical or early stage assets?
I think one of the reasons actually people are looking for early stage is because the clinical asset is too competitive and the price jump up because so many people are looking for clinical stage product, especially in the oncology or immunology area. But the good thing is in gene therapy area, the competition is not that high yet. I think there's not too many Chinese gene therapy company. The current player in China, not that many people looking for gene therapy product from US. But from my point of view, I actually believe the most valuable asset of US product is their clinical data, because the clinical data is more trustworthy in US, as all you might aware of the clinical data in China is not that worthy because of the doctor payments and all kinds of issues in the Chinese medical area. So for us, we are still looking at the even for rare disease, we are looking for product with the clinical data from US at this moment. And there are a lot of choice for us at this moment. Maybe later stage, when the competition become high, we might look for the early stage. But at this moment, we are still looking for any gene therapy area with the clinical data in US or Europe.
Understand. Yeah. So for gene therapy, we all agree that it will have a great benefit to patients. But at this stage, because the high costs are really hard for healthcare system to carry, especially in China.
Yes.
So because somebody can cost millions of dollars, right? So my question to Adam is, when do you think China market is ready for gene therapy, and what can be done to tackle this commercialization challenge?
I think it's a very interesting question, because that's one of the issues we have been wondering during the last couple of years. But I think this is the right time, because we talked to several companies and several personnel experts in this field. They have been working in this field during the last 10 years. And not until 2018, the government started picking up the policy for the rare disease, especially in the reimbursement issue. For example, Sanofi, and they acquired Belgium, so they have 4 products in Chinese market for sale in rare disease, like MPS 1 and Gaucher's disease and Batten's disease, some 4 of the very famous rare disease products in Chinese market. They have been selling that product for almost 10 years. Some of them are over 10 years, but the revenue never pick up until 2018. And the government, some of the local government in the provincial area, they start to open up the policy for reimburse some of those products, especially in Hangzhou and Jiangsu and Qingdao. So actually, Zhejiang, Jiangsu, and Shandong, 3 provinces, they count for almost half of those revenue nationwide. And from 2018, they start to see the pickup. And 2019, they see the revenue growth by 50%. And 2020, they see the revenue growth by 100%. And now they are expecting the revenue growth this year is over 100% over year. And some of the revenue they have for one single product is, I think in Chinese yuan, they said 1.2亿. I think it's about 40 million, actually about 30, 40 million US dollars per year. And they see the revenue 100% growth year over year. And the good thing is the profit is wonderful because you don't need to do the relationship with the doctor because the doctor are looking after you for those drugs, and you don't need a big sales force. They have only scores of salesperson nationwide, about 20 salesperson nationwide, basically do government relationship and talking with a couple of PIs. And because the PI doctor specialized in this area, very focused, only several PIs. So the revenue they see picking up year over year over 100% during the last couple of years since 2018. And that's one of the reasons we are looking into this area. But I realize most of the product, especially for the gene therapy area, even for the rare disease, they are not approved in US market yet. Because most of the rare disease product they approved there are enzyme replacements or small molecules. But for the AAV product, I think one of the advantage we have is there's a lot of patients reservoirs in Chinese market. The government is very supportive to perform the clinical trials in Chinese market, and we have a very excellent PI pools for those rare disease because most of those famous PI they are returnees from US or from Europe. They not only do clinical work but also do research work in this area, and they are very eager to participate on the global trials for those rare disease. So I think this is the right time because the patient pools, the PI expertise, and the government encouragement and the reimbursement, and also lots of biotech company, they are enthusiastic to get into this field. Like ourselves, even though the company I founded started last year, Unlong Bio, but we rose over $70 million already during the last two tranches. And we are very financial sounded, and we even built up an AAV manufacturer in Beijing, China. It's over about 50,000 square feet in Beijing alone. And we have the AAV manufacturer, and we are able to localize some of the product if our partner can have a deep relationship with us. So I think those are the 4 important factors to push the market into maturation and into a booming for the next couple of years.
That's really encouraging. So you just mentioned the reimbursement, right? So in the United States, I think they are trying some sort of called efficacy reimbursement, right? Meaning you only pay if it's effective. So do you think in China probably will also adapt such reimbursement mechanism?
Well, actually, in US, I think the efficacy policy happens for cell therapy. They are most famous, started there. But for rare disease, they are adapting the similar kind of policy as well in US. I think that will be the trend for Chinese market as well, because we're talking to several government relationship. Most of the time, they are provincial relationship, provincial government agencies. Like I said, Zhejiang, Jiangsu, and Shandong, they are even willing to pay $500,000 US dollars for some of the payments in China, but that's yearly payment. So if that's the case, I think $1 million payment for one shot, like gene therapy, is not impossible because they are willing to talk about that. We can allocate the payment into several years, like 5 or even 10 years, about 20 or 30, 200 or 30 million, $230,000 per year for the next 5 or 10 years. And if the drug is effective, because gene therapy is one-shot treatment, and we can allocate the payment during the next couple of years. But the total amount there is not astronomical for those government agency. They are willing to talk about it.
Yeah. Thank you, Adam. Yeah, it's very, very helpful and informative. So yeah, actually we spent a lot of time talking about oncology. Before we conclude our panel, I really want to have some opinion from our speakers. In addition to oncology, what other therapeutic area or indication you think a Chinese company will be looking into in the next few years? I will start with Frank.
Yeah, I think oncology will still be important in the years to come. Besides that, I believe from our side, really neuroscience is an area that is definitely worth looking into, including neurodegenerative disease as well as neuroinflammation and other things. I mean, do you see, the Chinese population is getting is aging, right? We are getting becoming a society with a lot of people with age. So in that case, and neurodegenerative disease is almost inevitable, although a small percentage, but given the patient population, given the population, then it's still going to be a huge market in that. And my view is really neuroscience, especially neurodegenerative disease, is in a new direction, or in a direction that is worth looking into.
Thank you, Frank. What is your take, Jack?
Yeah, I kind of agree with Frank that because of the aging population, China, the CNS is going to be a huge market. And just because of the most recently Baogen's approval, that certainly opens the gates for many of the potential assets get approved, including the Lilly's late stage monoclonal antibody. But in addition to that, I feel, for instance, the autoimmune disease is just the other side of the coin of oncology. I know a lot of companies looking into that particular areas as well. It's because of China's a huge population base. I believe that certainly is representing a very big market. Also, and touch on the rare disease, even just for oncology, look at the late stage pipeline assets, half of those oncology assets actually representing in for the rare cancer disease category. So it's a very interesting and dynamics to worth watching.
Thank you, Jack. Jun, Baojun, do you want to contribute to this question?
Well,
I know your favorite is oncology. I know that.
Well, I was trained as a neurobiochemist. I actually working on Huntington's disease when I was doing my postdoc fellow in Johns Hopkins. So nothing, excites me more if there's a neurodegenerative disease drug on the market. I think the science will be there and the technology will be there. I think but it's gonna be hard, especially for chronic disease. I think the acute disease might be the first one to crack in, or maybe some disease with a genetic, for example, polyglutamine repeat disease, right? That can be kind of fit into a gene therapy. That will be the first one to have some breakthrough.
Yeah, I totally agree. So in addition to rare disease, any other things you want to add?
I think Baojun, you should join us. And there's a lot of exciting time for gene therapy, even though we don't have the crack for Parkinson or Alzheimer yet. But I think, for me at this moment, gene therapy is the exclusive focus. Most of those gene therapy products are in the rare disease area. I think this is, I try to convince or talk to people, Anlong is the right choice, because not only we have the gene therapy capability manufacturers downstairs, and also we have the commercial capabilities, because I can claim one of the few returnees who has a distribution company before in Chinese market for US and European product. And in addition to the commercial capability, you need a local player, know the government relationship, because that's very important for the sales and for the reimbursement. And also we set up a US office just a couple of months ago in New York, looking for product. So if any of you want to talk to us, we have the US office to connecting with everyone in US or Europe. And last, not the least, is in order to cracking the Chinese market, you need a diagnostic capability to for the rare disease, because a genetic disease, you need a lot of diagnostic, not only the molecular diagnostic, chemistry and pathology diagnostic. And I myself have a diagnostic company, and we do have a extensive collaboration with the diagnostic capability in China. So we are ready to talk to anyone who are interested in Chinese market for gene therapy, especially for the rare disease.
Yeah, and I think you can leave your contact information in the chat box. I believe a lot of our audience will be interested in talking to you. Okay, yeah, seems like we will have a very interesting and a dynamic future to look into. So that's actually perfectly wrap up our discussion for today. Thank you all the speakers, and see you at our next event. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone.